Hello, my name is Jeff Lomax with e2open's product marketing team. Rail logistics have been in the news for the last year or more. Of course, connected to the pandemic, logistics logjams and delays, labor shortage, and of course, strikes. With the over-the-road capacity concerns, companies traditionally moving goods by rail are now joined by others, but moving shipments via rail requires special expertise. We took the time today to ask some relevant questions to a team of e2open rail experts and invite you to join us. With us today are Chad Toupin and Chris Szymczyk from e2open. I'll let them introduce themselves. Hello, Chad. Hello, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Szymczyk. I migrated to the e2open team from Raven Logistics, and I'm currently supporting the rail component for product management with e2open.
My name is Chad Toupin, and I'm the managing director of our rail last team here at e2open. I came from Raven Logistics, and I've been in the industry for about 15 years now.
Great. All right, let's jump right in. There's so many supply chain issues in the news, clogged ports, trucking companies can't get drivers. What are the major challenges with rail today, Chad?
Well, the precision scheduled railroading, or the PSR model that most of the carriers have implemented has really changed the way that they pursue new business opportunities. So this operating strategy has been implemented in some form or fashion with just about every major Class 1 railroad over the past 5 years or so. So I've had a front row seat to how this has impacted the shipper. It promotes a flat switching model, and it focuses primarily on operating ratio, which is the main metric that Wall Street pays attention to. So obviously, it was kind of a copycat type industry. When one railroad reports strong numbers, the rest kind of follow suit and try to replicate what they've done. Under this model, it's the carrier's main focus is removing congestion from the network by removing the removal of hump yards to build the trains. The carriers are also tracking their asset utilization very closely. And if the cars are not cycling as expected, they'll remove them from service or put them in storage. So what this means for typical shippers is that sometimes the only way to ship via rail is to procure your own, secure your own fleet of equipment. There's two ways to do that. One is a very expensive capital investment in purchasing, or you can go the route of leasing rail cars. Either way, it can be a very complicated process. And the experts here on my team are well positioned to help all of our customers through this process to avoid making costly mistakes and really making sure that you're maximizing your return on investment in those assets. Manpower has really been an issue in recent years as well. The Class 1 carriers have cut staff nearly 30%, and in some cases, this has resulted in poor and inconsistent service. They're still feeling the ill will of the self-imposed COVID-related furloughs, which is still impacting their ability to restore a fully trained workforce. In short, the people in the field don't really want to come back. This may start to change now that the recent strike has been avoided, which was a big win for the labor unions. However, there's still a long way to go, and it's going to be a painful process in the meantime.
So do you see any of these challenges improving through market forces or other means?
In short, yes, I do. From an operating and car supply standpoint, I really kind of view this as business as usual. I mean, the railroads will always have differing incentives that they're promoting, and honestly, they've historically been subject to change at a moment's notice. So I think this is one of the main reasons why it's so critical to have the proper resources at your disposal when managing your rail business. At e2open, we offer best-in-class technology and managed resources to help navigate the dynamic rail network.
Okay, great. Let's talk a bit about carrier rates. You work with a lot of transport managers in rail, and we actually manage transport for some. What are some of the approaches to optimizing freight rates?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. You know, one of the most common things we hear from people shipping via rail is that they struggle to just get a freight rate and do so in a timely manner. And this is mostly common for both from new shippers, but also I've seen it impact shippers that have millions of dollars in freight spend. This is most prevalent when you're trying to obtain rates for multiple carriers required, and this is known as a Rule 11 shipment. So usually what a shipper will do is they'll go to the railroad that serves them, right? They have the relationship with that carrier, and that's where they'll start. And that carrier will typically give them a rate that will include the division for each and every railroad, and that's known as a through rate. Now, it's really good in the sense that you're really going to have to only pay one carrier, so it keeps it kind of cleaner and easier. That stated, on a through rate, you lose visibility as to what division each carrier has in that for their division in that rate. And so you really don't know how much negotiation was done by my carrier partner. How did they get to this number? But whereas Rule 11, you see each carrier's division and you pay them directly. It creates some transparency. Having a freight management system that optimizes all the Rule 11 rates and routes while applying all available public and private rates is very critical. These optimizations also give an experienced transportation manager all the intel they need to be an effective negotiator.
All right, shifting over to you, Chris. Some rail shippers have their own rail team, some don't. What's your advice for a rail shipper with their own people managing transport?
So my advice would be to automate the hell out of everything you can. There are plenty of issues facing both shippers and receivers, and even more opportunities to optimize what's happening in your network. So if your people are spending time pulling rates from multiple carriers or manually entering waybills instead of tracking down AWOL fleet cars, or strategizing about what you're going to do in case of a carrier strike as examples, then that is less than optimal. And if your technology suite doesn't offer automation, be aware there are some that do.
And how can a SaaS solution help some of these problems?
Sure. So Chad spoke of some of the value of a freight management system. Beyond just managing rates though, a tool like that can help allow for rate optimization. Those optimized rates can be turned into billing patterns, and those billing patterns can feed an automated billing, accrual, and audit process. So for shippers, this is really the core blocking and tackling. Beyond shipment execution though, having visibility and reporting features really builds out the rest of what you need to manage your rail network efficiently.
Okay, great, Chris. So let's dive deeper into visibility. What are the recent developments around visibility in rail? Transport in general is seeing growth in the tools, definitely for track and trace, notifications, analytics, and shipment status. What specifically is happening in rail?
Yeah, I would say on average, the availability and accessibility of data is increasing. Specifically, we're seeing IoT providers trying to enter the space and more carriers providing access to their data via API. But for the most part, the network still runs on AEI scans sent via EDI. So while we're seeing more data come in, really where we're seeing most of the advancement is those visibility providers being able to provide better insights into what's happening in the network, whether that be through better ETAs or more predictive analytics based on the inputs and outputs.
All right, that's a great segue into analytics. So what role do you see analytics playing in the future for rail transport?
Yeah, I see analytics providing an opportunity to make better decisions. Not only does it allow for a more insightful evaluation of past performance, but it also allows for a better predictive look into the future. And the more accurate and dynamic our view is into the future, the better inputs we have for decision making in the present. Decisions like mode selection or fleet positioning, outbound order prioritization, and expedited shipments. So really this extends beyond just transportation, because really the greatest value that I think that we'll see from analytics is to be able to look across all of the pillars of the connected supply chain.
Chris, your team's part of the e2open logistics suite. Can you tell us a bit about how the rail offering fits into the e2open network?
Yeah, in the near term, the TM Rail product is being positioned to adapt a harmonized user experience and to be accessible alongside other applications via single sign-on. This will provide, our industry-leading rail technology to clients looking to manage multiple modes under one roof. In the long term, though, our technology will have deeper connections to the other applications, allowing for a broader multimodal planning and execution solution.
All right, Chad, let's get back to managing transport. What if a shipper or a forwarder doesn't have a rail team, or if they want to outsource that function to minimize costs? What should they look for in a logistics partner, a logistics as a service vendor?
Well, I've learned that I think it's pretty obvious during the discovery process to identify if you're in the room with an experienced rail shipper. Questions like, can they speak to your pain points? Can they provide detailed answers to your questions that resonate with the past experience? Can they offer any guarantees when it comes to deliverables or solutions? I mean, these are all important boxes that must be checked. when looking at your operation as a whole, it's a good idea to look at the customer base and ask for referrals before finalizing that decision-making process. Now, if you're a shipper who has an in-house rail expert, or maybe that expert is shorthanded or wearing multiple hats, why not equip them with a SaaS solution that will enable them to maximize their time on task? I mean, you'd be amazed at how quickly the right tools can free up internal bandwidth and maximize employee efficiency. And at e2open, we pride ourselves on customer satisfaction and retention. We have a very diverse customer base, and we can tailor packages to meet the needs of shippers of any size or in any commodity group.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Chris. This was a great conversation. We could go on for hours. I appreciate the valuable insights on the state of rail and e2open logistics.
Happy to be here, Jeff. Thanks for having us.
To learn more about rail transportation management, visit e2open.com. Thank you, everybody.